Check 1 2. Yeah. Yo, what is up? Welcome back to Wake the Love Up. It's your boy Burnell Washburn. Another beautiful day to be alive. Sending you all the love, all the good vibes. Thank you so much for tuning in, investing in your personal growth. I have another magical, brilliant, powerful episode in store for you today. And it's probably going to be a bit of a quicker one. So before we fully dive in, I just want to acknowledge and express my deepest gratitude to all of you guys who have been supporting this podcast, whether you've been screenshotting it as you're listening and sharing that on your Instagram story, or you've been sending the link to your homies and your family, or you're on the Patreon page supporting with $5, $10, $20 a month. Like, wow, I can't thank you guys enough. This work is so needed right now, and I feel at my best when I'm serving in this way. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity to serve through this platform, and everything you guys are doing is really working and helping. So I can't thank you enough. If you want to support this show, you can go to patreon.com/BurnellWashburn, and you can throw whatever you feel called to throw on that, and that just helps spread the good vibes and helps wake more love up. So I really appreciate all of that. Leave a 5-star review on iTunes. That helps more people see it. Keep spreading the word. It seems like we're getting more and more listeners and people getting real impact and real value from this every week. So gracias from the center of my heart. I just love you guys so much. That being said, it is it's an amazing time to be alive right now. It's a wild time to be alive. It's a pivotal time to be alive. And I really think all of us are just so needed right now to be sharing our gifts in our own unique ways. So thank you for being you. Thank you for doing what you do. You're bringing something to the world that only you can offer, and this whole universe wouldn't be the same without your unique expression. So it's just really good for us all to keep living in our highest truth, trusting in our inner guidance, and just sharing our gifts with the world as much as we can right now. And it's really important that we continue to keep doing the inner work, keep raising our own vibration, keep going within and trying to be the change that we wish to see. A lot of people are waking up right now. A lot of people are facing shadows, waking up to what's no longer serving us collectively and individually. And we are releasing that. And that can be quite painful. That can be quite challenging. So I'm just really grateful that I'm able to be in my truth, be spreading my love, be sharing my gifts in fun, creative ways that feel good to me. And it's just totally awesome that more and more people are resonating with this work. So yeah, I love you guys. Thank you. Everything you're doing. And that being said, let's jump into today's powerful episode all about discipline, freedom, and self-love. So I started following this dude named Jocko years ago, who's a Navy SEAL, and he was always preaching this thing, discipline equals freedom. And it took me a minute to grasp. And a lot of you guys have maybe followed Jocko's work, or you've heard that quote, discipline equals freedom. And now I fully realize what he means by that on a deep embodied level. So I want to share some of that. I want to share some thoughts about discipline. I want to share some thoughts about freedom. And I want to share some thoughts about self-love, because they're all super connected. And the entire universe is mirroring our relationship with ourselves. So the more we can never talk about self-love too much. Self-love is a huge, it's a journey. It's not a destination. So, I'll share some things that have been on my heart lately, and at the end of this episode, I also have a cool little announcement to make. So, what originally inspired this episode was the last 2 mornings, actually. I woke up feeling groggy, tired, and not necessarily motivated to do my good habits and routines. So I almost just didn't do them. So part of my morning routine is I wake up, I go outside barefoot ground in the sunshine, and I practice about 30 minutes of qigong. Qigong is also sometimes called Chinese yoga. Qi means energy, gong means practice, so it's just energy practice. And I kind of incorporate a little bit of yoga, a little bit of breath work, a little bit of EFT tapping, and chakra balancing. And it's an amazing way to start your day. It just gets like my mind, body, and soul on point. Like when I get done with it, I feel amazing. And I noticed the last 2 days I just didn't feel like doing it, even though I know it's really good for me and I know I always feel amazing after. And then my lower self is basically starting to run the show, and it's like, you don't need to do this. It's okay. You don't need to like be doing this as often as you do it. Like you can just be late. Like just go inside and just drink some coffee. And like my lower self wants to go like the lazy route or the easy route. And like, it's easier to just drink coffee and in 5 minutes I'm energized and all I have to do is sit there. Versus Qigong, it takes me like, it takes 5-10 minutes to even like shake out the night before and even start getting the energy in. And then, it takes about 10-15 minutes into it before I'm like really starting to feel good. And like 20-30 minutes if I want to feel like super amazing. And that's if I'm like already kind of in a low vibe. If I'm already in a super high vibe, then it takes me like 5 minutes to like, I can get super pumped up if I'm already all energized and stoked, and then I don't even need it as much. And I'm remembering this quote that says like, when you feel like you don't want to do something, that's when you need it the most. When you're resisting something, that's when you really need it. So the times when you really don't feel like meditating, that's when you need to meditate the most. The times when you really don't feel like doing the hard thing and you feel like taking the easy route, that's when you need to like override your lower self. So I basically just been making the decision. I'll just mentally tell myself I'm overriding my lower self right now. Boom, let's kick in the higher self. And I just start basically forcing myself to do what I know is good for me, even though I don't feel like it. And there's so much bliss and freedom and up leveling on the other side of that. And there's also toxic discipline, which we'll talk about in a second. Right now we're talking about healthy discipline. So we'll get on some depth there. But anyway, I realized that like both mornings I woke up and my lower self tried to talk me out of something that I know is good for me. I've never done this and not felt amazing. There's never ever been a time where I've done a qigong routine and been like, man, I shouldn't have done that. Never. It always energizes me and raises my vibration and just, really elevates my whole frequency. So I noticed the lower self would try to talk me out. If the lower self is trying to talk me out of something that I know is good for me, then I know like, okay, I have to override this using discipline, and I have to use this energy of discipline to kind of make myself do something that I don't want to do because I know it's good for me. And if you take the easy route, it always ends up being harder. If you try to take the easy route, it sounds easier, looks easier, feels like it's easier at first, but in the big picture, in the long term, it just hurts you. It ends up being way more painful. So you actually free yourself by being disciplined. You might have seen the graphic online where there's 2 circles, and on the left circle it says discipline, and then on the right circle it says surrender. And in the part where the two circles overlap, it says flow. So you have the right amount of discipline and the right amount of surrender, and then you're in flow. But I've noticed that like there is so much freedom from being disciplined. You get so much reward compounded when you do what's good for you consistently over time and you stay disciplined with it and you just keep doing what's good for you, especially when you don't feel like it. That's why cold showers help rewire your identity to be someone who does something even when they don't feel like it. Cold showers, they have so many, and ice baths and any type of kind of gnarly things like that. They, if done with the right intention, they have so many health and physical benefits. But one of the biggest benefits that I've received is that it starts to rewire your identity. When I started taking cold showers and ice baths and all this stuff and going in the river in the middle of wintertime, I started realizing that like I changed the way I was thinking about myself. I started to perceive myself as a more badass person. I started to perceive myself as someone who does what's good for them rather than someone who does what's easy, what's convenient, what's comfortable. I started to really view myself and take ownership of a new identity as a person who does what's going to help raise his vibration, and a person who operates from higher self, and a person who does just what is good rather than what is easy and comfortable. So that's a big part of it. And if you're not consistently staying disciplined with things that you know are good for you, it's on the identity level. You don't perceive yourself as that type of person yet. So you need to start small and start building up the energy of discipline with something easy. Don't, if you set the bar too high, then you might end up being discouraged and then just going back to what's easy. If you set the bar at a more obtainable, something that you might have an easy win with, then you'll start to develop a more empowering identity as someone who can follow through with their word to themselves and someone who can say they want to do something and actually do it. And that's where a lot of confidence comes from too. Confidence comes from keeping your word to yourself and just following through with what you say you're going to do. So I highly, highly recommend picking a small goal, a small habit that you can fulfill, that's within your control, and sticking to it, making a commitment to yourself that you are going to stick to this thing no matter what, even when you don't feel like it. So maybe it could be, all right, for the next 5 days, I am going to meditate for at least 5 minutes per day. 5 minutes for 5 days. And you pick something that's small because you can control that. You can have 5 minutes. Anyone has 5 minutes to meditate. And if you think you don't, then you need 50 minutes. Find something small like that. Maybe it's, okay, for the next 3 days, I'm going to wait 30 minutes before turning my phone on. I'm not going to look at my phone for the first 30 minutes. Whatever it is for you, pick something that you know you can follow through with. It might be slightly out of your comfort zone. It might be a little bit hard for you, but you can do it, and make it short. 3 days, 5 days, something that you can stick to. So a lot of people try to they make a New Year's resolution and they're like, all right, I'm going to work out every single day for the next 5 years straight, and I'm never going to eat a carb again. And they just set these outlandish, so they just set themselves up to fail. So pick something within your control. I don't even really resonate with the word control, but within your power, I guess, that you can do for the next few days and just commit to it. And it doesn't even need to be big. It can be brushing your teeth. Reading 1 page out of a book. For the next 3 days, I'm going to read 1 page out of a book each day. And just do it. Follow through with it. Stay disciplined with it. And then highly acknowledge yourself and reward yourself for having kept your word to yourself, for having stayed disciplined, and for having just done what you said you were going to do. This is to help rewire your identity as a person who can decide something and do it and follow through with it. And then just keep doing it. Now, after you've done that for 3 days, now pick something else or pick the same thing and do it a little bit longer. If you did it for 3 days, okay, now commit yourself to doing it for 5 days. And then know yourself and just observe your tendencies and set yourself up to win. For me, like I remember when I was like trying to get in the habit of like working out, I was like, all right, I'm gonna exercise like 6 days a week, and I think I was like 7 days a week or something. Like I didn't give myself any rest days. Then I just like burnt myself out. And then I got to know myself, and I was like, you know what, my body type. After years of like trying to exercise and optimize my health, I learned that it's best for me to only do an intense workout with like weights and stuff like twice a week. The rest of the week I can be hiking, skateboarding, playing with my daughter, yoga, qigong, all that other stuff. But if I'm like the intense stuff, only a couple days a week, and I thrive better. So when I was trying to do it 6 days a week, and then I was feeling all sore and burning myself out, and then I was mad at myself because I was setting something that wasn't necessarily like healthy or realistic. So just find things that are healthy and realistic to you, and then follow through with them, and then keep raising the bar and keep expanding your ability to just like follow through with your own word to yourself. You'll start to feel way more confident, and you'll start to just rewire your identity and perceive yourself in a new way. You'll start to just feel more badass and feel like you can trust yourself. And I've used this analogy before. If someone said they were going to pick you up at 7 o'clock and they didn't show up, and you're waiting till 7:30, they're still not there, you're texting them, calling them, they're not there, you're stranded on the side of the road somewhere and they're not showing up. And then, you see them the next day and you're like, what happened? You were supposed to pick me up at 7 o'clock. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. Something came up. I wish I wanted to be there and I couldn't make it. And you're like, okay, damn, it's okay. No worries. And they're like, next time I got you for sure. And then, next week they're like, hey, I'm going to pick you up 7 o'clock again. They don't show up. It's now 7:45. You're like, man, again, they're not here yet still. You wait till like 8:30. They're still not there. So you finally leave, and then you see them, the next day, and you're like, what happened again? Like, I waited till like 8:30 for you. You're supposed to pick me up at 7. Where were you? Oh, so I'm so sorry. Something came up, and, car broke down. Whatever. They have an excuse. They have a reason. Excuses are infinite. And you're like, okay, yeah, no worries. Just, next time, like, try and let me know. And then, they're like, okay, for sure. Next time that won't happen. And then the next time, hey, I'll pick you up at 7. All right, see you there. You're going to be there for sure this time, right? Yep, all right, see you there. 7:30 rolls around. They're not there. You're like, yo, this is the third time. They haven't shown up. What is happening? You're texting them, calling them. You're like, seriously? Are you coming? What's going on? You wait till 8 o'clock. They're still not there. And you're like, damn, like, I don't know if I can trust this person anymore. And so you talk to them the next day, and you're like, man, Nikki, that was the third time you said you were going to pick me up, and you didn't pick me up. Like, and they come out, they have another excuse. Oh, my phone died, and I got, my dog ate my homework, and they have, a million excuses of why they weren't there. And so you say, okay, well, next time, I don't know. And then like, they're like, okay, next Wednesday for sure. I'm like, for sure going to pick you up at 7. In your mind, you're already kind of like, I don't know. You're already having a backup plan in your mind because you don't really trust them. The last 3 times, they didn't show up for you, so you're like, all right. So you try it, and then the 4th time, they don't show up again, and like after like 7:15, you're like, all right, I'm bouncing out of here. Like, this is ridiculous. I am never making plans with this person again. Like, I can't trust anything they say. They keep saying they're gonna show up at 7, and the last 4 times they weren't here and just left me stranded. you would lose trust in that person. You would not want to make plans with them. You would not really trust anything they say. If they say they're going to pick you up, in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, right, whatever, and you're already making other plans because you don't think they're going to actually follow through. How many times do we do this with ourselves? How many times do we tell ourselves that we're going to, all right, okay, that's my last time doing that. I used to do this with like when I was trying to quit cigarettes back in the day. Like, all right, this is my last pack for sure. Like after this pack, I'm never buying any again. And then I would buy a pack. And then I'd say, all right, this is my last pack this time. And then I'd buy another pack. And so I eventually lost trust in myself. And I started to just not think that I was a powerful person. I started to lose my power because I was believing a lie about myself. I was not following through with my word to myself. And so I was just basically, well, every time I say I'm going to do something, I end up not doing it and it feels really shitty. So now I'm just not going to say anything. I'm not going to make any promises to myself anymore because I'm scared I'm going to let myself down. So I just basically stopped trying to be better. And so there were so many times I just stopped trying to quit smoking because, it was easier to just accept that I'm a smoker than it was to try and quit and continue to feel bad about myself. And then it wasn't until I rewired it and learned more positive psychology and how to build good habits that I learned to I was able to cut back and feel really good about myself. And, just self-awareness is key. And we'll go down a whole nother rabbit hole with addiction recovery and all that in another episode. But I just, I noticed I stopped trying and I stopped believing in myself because I was always letting myself down, and it doesn't feel good to let yourself down. So then eventually you just stop trying. I always say that we will always consistently behave in ways that are congruent with how we perceive ourselves. We are going to behave, our behavior is a match to our subconscious identity. If you want to know how you perceive yourself on a subconscious level, just look at your behavior, and how you're showing up in the world is who you believe yourself to be. And we are where our attention is. So we can shift that and we can rebuild a more empowering identity. Like I said, just in small ways. Pick something small and do it for the next 3 days, and then you start to boost yourself up and reward yourself for it, feel good about it, and then raise the bar and do something else and keep doing that, and they compound over time. I went from all these super negative habits, like just constantly scrolling social media, smoking, drinking, hanging out with toxic people, chasing validation, chasing money, all just eating low vibration foods, all these things, to all these positive habits within a matter of a few years, to now oh, I'm doing qigong, I'm doing breath work, I'm meditating, I'm reading, I'm recording podcasts, I'm practicing yoga, I'm going to high vibe community events, I'm growing my own organic superfoods, there's all these amazing new habits that I've shifted, but it wasn't just overnight. It was small incremental changes in my identity. I started to perceive myself as a different type of person, and this different type of person takes different types of actions. And then, the more I just embedded it in, I embodied and wired in this identity as this healthy person. I just didn't want to do anything that was outside of that identity. We're always going to behave in ways that are congruent with how we perceive ourselves. So be careful about how you talk about yourself, how you define yourself. When you say, "Oh, I'm not good at this," or I'm the type of person that, fill in the blank. Be careful whatever you put after that statement. Be careful about anything you put after the phrase "I am." When you say "I am," that's a super creative statement. All words are creative, and like abracadabra. As I speak, so I create. The word is the wand, and the word is also the weapon. So just be mindful about, how are you talking about yourself? How, I have a friend that was just talking to me the other day and wanted to improve his health, and then after he said something about, I really want to eat healthier. but blah, blah, blah. And then he filled it in with like 15 creative I am statements right after that that were all negative and self fulfilling prophecies. Oh, but, you know, everyone in my family's overweight, and oh, I've always struggled with this, or I've always blah, 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 or oh, I am just like this, or this is just who I, and all these ways that we just perceive ourselves. And it's just silly. The more you meditate, the word meditate means to become familiar with. So that's what we're doing when we meditate. We're becoming familiar with, you know, mind, body, spirit, all of everything. And you start to become familiar with your own thoughts and emotions and phrases, and you see how disempowering a lot of your vocabulary is. And then you start to just catch it and rephrase it, doing word swaps. Anytime you catch yourself saying anything negative or limiting about yourself, just catch it, acknowledge, oh, that's the old programming, and then just swap out the words for something more empowering. You catch yourself saying, oh, I'm not good at that. Catch that. Oh, whoops, that's my old programming. That's a limiting thought. Interesting. Okay, thanks, limiting thought. Actually, I have the power to get good at anything that I want to. Or, just anything that you can switch it out for something more empowering. Anytime you can switch it out for something more empowering, that's like a mental win right there. And that's kind of like an act of self-love, just to catch yourself and see how you're talking about yourself, and then to rephrase it because you love yourself and you don't want to talk about someone you love that way. Anytime you catch yourself saying something mean or negative or limiting about yourself, just catch it and pretend that you're saying that about your son or your daughter or your best friend or someone that you really are inspired by, or imagine you're saying that about God, because that's what you are. Imagine you're saying that about the whole universe. Say, catch yourself saying, I'm broke. And then remember, oh wait, I'm the universe. And then say that same phrase, wait, I'm broke and I'm the universe. Wait, that doesn't resonate. That doesn't make sense. The universe is not broke. Universe is insanely abundant and it's whole and complete, exactly how it is. Oh, okay. Yep, that's my true nature. And just bring yourself back. Just catch that. Bring it back. Wake the love up and let's keep it going. You catch yourself saying, oh, that's just my luck. This kind of stuff always happens to me. Be like Missy Elliott. Flip it and reverse it. Say, oh, actually, the universe is conspiring to help me thrive. Anyway, I'm kind of jumping around here. So, discipline equals freedom. I felt so good after overriding my lower self the last 2 mornings and then doing the high vibrational habits, specifically in this scenario, the Qigong routine and the chakra. Because I go through I go through 12 chakras and it takes a minute. So sometimes it's easy to feel lazy and feel like, I don't need to do that right now. Like, it's okay. And then I'm like robbing myself out of like my own greatness if I don't do it. So I catch that, oh, that's the lower self, the lazy part of me that just doesn't want to do it. And, you definitely need to rest and like check yourself. It's not about this like rigid discipline. I got to do everything every day and be this perfect like boss beast mode every single day. Like there's cycles like the moon, there's know thyself and develop a healthy balance and a healthy rhythm. And just learn to just trust in your inner guidance and know what you need. For me, in this case scenario, I knew that it would benefit me. I was just kind of being lazy because I just hadn't quite fully woken up yet. And so I almost cheated myself out of something that was going to really help me and make my whole day better. And then I overrode the lower self, did it anyway. It felt amazing. Just came in my house, blissed out both times, had way more energy, was better with my daughter. Felt, more flexible and more balanced and more harmonized and more loving. And when I do these like chakra routines, like I'm pulling energy up from the earth through all my chakras, and I'm pulling all the way up into the cosmos, and I'm pulling energy all the way up, from the soul star chakra deep in the cosmos down into the earth. I'm shining ascension light from the grand central sun through the core of the earth, and I'm doing a lot of powerful work, and I'm obtaining brain heart coherence. I am releasing and shaking tension. I am sending blessings out to the universe. I am connecting with angels and guides. Like, it's a powerful routine. Like, why would I not want to do that? It takes like a little bit of work. It takes some discipline to do this every day. And I notice whenever I've fallen off the things that are really good for me, I start to like things in my life start to not go as well. I start to not feel as good. Things start to get stressful or bad again. And then I'm like, oh man, it's usually I can trace it back. Oh, because I fell off some of those things that I was doing. So I've developed a personality where like I'm really disciplined. And it's funny because I actually have to discipline myself to take breaks and rest. And for a while there, I had to, like right now I'm kind of going with the flow. But for a while, I had to like tell myself, okay, no more working past 8 p.m. because I was just like kind of like workaholic phase, just constantly like not like feeling like I always need to be doing something in order to like manifest my dreams and goals, and constantly need to be making progress or else I don't feel good about myself. And I wasn't resting and taking it easy enough, so I had to I had to discipline myself like, okay, dude, after 8 p.m., you got to shut off the laptop. You got to turn off the social media. You got to, go and do something for yourself. Watch a movie, have some fun, whatever. And that was something I had to discipline myself on for a while, and it took some time. So, like, there was lots of days where I told myself, okay, I'm going to be done working at 8, but then I would work till 9, and then I'd catch myself, oh, you said you were gonna be done at 8, bro, and then but I wouldn't beat myself up. I'd be happy for catching it. Oh, remember, you're supposed to be disciplined. Rather than being like mad at myself for messing it up, I was happy that I realized. Oh yeah, I was supposed to be ending at 8. Okay, that's dope that I even realized that. Good job. Keep going back to those good habits. And the more I just keep continuously choosing consciously to operate from my higher self, the better my life gets. The more I do the things that I know are good for me, everything gets easier. My life has never felt so easy, and it's because I've consistently do all the hard things. And one of my favorite disciplines that kind of encompasses my life that I really started implementing a couple of years ago, and it was a game changer for me, is I started doing the hard things first. Whatever I wanted to do the least, that became the first thing that I'm going to tackle when I have the most energy and all this stuff. Because here's the thing. If I wake up and there's like 8 things that I'd like to accomplish in a day, and there's a few of them that are more enjoyable, maybe things that are creative and fun, and then there's a few things that I really don't want to do, but they kind of need to get done. There's some things, maybe they're uncomfortable, maybe they might be difficult and challenging, maybe they might be strenuous or just test my skills and abilities. Those things that I want to do the least are the things that I'm most likely in my lower self gonna want to procrastinate on and put off. And when we procrastinate, we rob ourselves. We make it hurt, because if I do the easy things first, that often feels like it feels good. You get those out of the way, but then now you have these things that you really don't want to do, and you already used up a lot of your energy, and so now you're more likely to procrastinate and say, I'll do those hard things later tomorrow when I have more energy. And the whole time you're doing the things that are like the fun things, you still have in the back of your mind this knowing that you have to do these uncomfortable things. So you're not even enjoying the fun things as much as you could be, because you know that later on you have to do something that's going to be uncomfortable. So you're robbing yourself on both ends. And if you do the hard thing first, you get this energy boost from having accomplished the thing that you didn't want to do. From doing the thing that was uncomfortable or hard, you now feel good about yourself because you faced something difficult, and you're like, all these other things are going to be easy and fun now compared to that. Like this could be something, for example, like I'll just think of something, like I wake up and on my list is like I gotta fix a part in my car, and I have to, I get to record a podcast, and I get to um, clean my house, and I get to make a custom beat for one of my clients that I'm producing for, and I get to, there's a handful of things that I get to do, and there's like, let's say, for example, the car one is the one that's going to be the most difficult that I really don't want to do, that I've been putting off for the longest. If I just wake up and tackle that and I get it done, oh my God, I'm going to feel so good. And then everything else on the list, like the cleaning the house, the other little things that were kind of like somewhat not really my favorite thing to do either, now they're going to feel easier, and I'm going to have this greater sense of accomplishment. I'm going to be feeling good about myself. And so I've disciplined myself to just do the hard thing first, do the uncomfortable thing first, and just get that out of the way. So everything else is more enjoyable, so I have more energy for the other things. And I've learned to prioritize too, like if I could only get, say I have 8 things on the list, if I could only get one of these done today, which thing would actually move the needle in my life the most? And I'll make sure to get that one done early on too, because, sometimes unexpected circumstances arise, the day flies by, life happens, whatever, and you don't end up getting as much done as you'd like to get done. So if you at least got the hardest things done first and the most important things done first, then you'll still feel good about yourself, even if there was like 6 other things that you didn't have time for. At least you got the most important ones and the hardest ones done. And so now you still have some things to do, but those are going to be a breeze, and you're kind of feeling proud of yourself. So let's wrap up on discipline, because I want to briefly talk a little bit more about freedom and self-love, even though they're all really one and the same. Discipline equals freedom, and discipline is a majorly important act of self-love. So just a few reminders / takeaways is do the hard thing first. Do the most important things first. Set small, attainable goals for yourself and habits for yourself that are within your power to stay consistent on. Catch your language. Observe how you're talking about yourself and to yourself. Observe, what are you putting after phrases like I am, or I'm the type of person that ... Observe what your words are saying there and creating there. Observe what your stories are about yourself, and start to cultivate a more empowering identity, and start to practice different things that can help nurture an empowering type of self-identity. Cold showers made me feel like a more badass person, and then as a person who felt more badass, I wanted to do more badass things. And when I say badass, I just mean like empowered, confident, strong, capable, able, and doing things that I did that weren't comfortable or easy helped me build that identity. And then I just wanted to continue nurturing that identity, because they're always going to show up in a way that reflects how we subconsciously perceive ourselves. So find some small little routines and habits that you can stick to, and that'll build your confidence, and just stay consistent. When you feel like not doing something, or you feel like procrastinating, or just falling into some of your old ways, that's when you need it the most. And if you can catch that every time that lower self tendencies come up, you catch it and you choose the higher self thing, that's a huge win. Celebrate it. It feels amazing. And then just keep doing that. And don't beat yourself up when you do slip off. We're always going to slip and stumble. Just give yourself that positive reinforcement when you do the right thing. When there's so many times when I almost kind of slip into old programming, old patterns, old ways, and I catch it and then I do what I know is good for me rather than what's easy and comfortable or what just like feels like the immediate reward, and I go for that lasting fulfillment rather than that instant gratification, and that feels so good. And then it's like a muscle that I've built up. I've had so much positive neurofeedback from my own rewiring and catching that it's become my identity now. Like it feels really good every time I catch my lower self and just choose to override it. So that's that's a little bit on discipline. Now I want to touch just for a moment on freedom and what freedom really is to me. Freedom does not come from a paycheck. It doesn't come from a job. It doesn't come from a relationship. It does not come from anything outside of you. Freedom is connection to source. It is knowing that you are pure awareness, and that nothing could ever change that or take that away from you. And I realized this when I was in jail one night, and I've only been to jail once, and it was just for having a small amount of cannabis in my house. Uh, Super silly. Um, and I remember being locked up and realizing, okay, they can take away my physical freedom. They can take away my money, which they did. They can take away my ability to choose when I go to the bathroom or not. They can take away all of these external freedoms that I thought were freedoms, but they were just illusions. If it's possible for a freedom to be taken, then it was never a real freedom. Any freedom that can be taken from you was never freedom in the first place. It was a story, it was an illusion, it was a belief, it was a paradigm that wasn't your true nature. Your true nature is the presence, which is never an absence. The universal magnetic energetic power that permeates all of existence, that is everything. That is true freedom, is knowing that you are that. Even when you're identifying as a human being, as a person, then there's no way you can have true freedom, because it's all really a dream, it's all really an illusion. And if you can get in touch with your pure essence of just pure consciousness, that's where your freedom lies. So letting go of the old stories that freedom comes from how much money you have or the laws in whatever country you live in, let go of those and experience real freedom. Experience real freedom, that you are not this body, you are not these thoughts, you are not these emotions. You are the energy behind it all, that is it all. And when you really are embodying that awareness every day, every moment, then life starts to feel like a magical, fun dream. You don't take anything as seriously. You don't need to be validated. You don't need to control. You don't need to change anyone outside of you, because you realize you are everything. You are all of it. And when you're living from that state of awareness, life becomes easier, it becomes more fun, and so many things that used to hold you back and limit you seem to just disappear and dissipate and fall by the wayside, because you have elevated to a higher level of awareness. So to me, that's freedom. And in regards to freedom and discipline, discipline frees you from your own lower self. It frees you from ego patterns. It frees you from trauma. It frees you from old ways that are no longer serving you. When you consistently do what's good for you, do what is in harmony with the greater good, all your problems and all these limitations and things really do start to disappear and start to have less impact and less control over you. And that's why discipline really equals freedom. You know, your life is as good as your habits, and not just your like physical habits, but your emotional habits. Um, all of these things are so interconnected, and they all are a direct reflection of how much you love yourself. And you know, when you really get on that oneness consciousness, you see that you are everything. You are the waterfall, you are the butterfly, you are the human, you are the infinite amounts of planets and galaxies expanding through endless space, and you are the energy behind all of that, and observing it. And it like, how can you not just love yourself and everything so much? And when you really start to love yourself on that deep level, it becomes easier to stay disciplined, because you're not going to want to do anything that takes you out of that good feeling. You're not going to want to do anything that pulls you back into the old programming and the old fear-based consciousness. So self-love, freedom, and discipline are all inextricably connected and all vital to our overall well-being and wellness. And like, you know, when just things pay off over time if you stay consistent with them. So stay consistent with things that you know are elevating you, even when they're hard, especially when they're hard. And do it because you love yourself. Earlier I mentioned something about toxic discipline, and I think toxic discipline is born out of fear and scarcity, whereas divine discipline is born out of true unconditional love. You love yourself and life and the universe so much that you're going to do what is best for everyone, rather than what's easy, rather than what's just going to have the immediate payoff. Because, you know, it's a lot of the things that we need, that are a lot of disciplines and practices, they don't really give you immediate results and immediate rewards. However, they just pay off massively when we stay consistent and disciplined with them. So we do it as an act of self-love, not as an act of we're not good enough. You know, toxic discipline is like you're trying really hard. You're beating yourself up. You're super hard on yourself because you don't feel like you're enough. You don't feel like you're good and whole and complete as you are, so you have to really change yourself in order to be loved and accepted and all of that. That's toxic discipline, and a lot of people get caught up in that. A lot of people that are on, when they first get on like the self-improvement, self-development path, they, you know, might be like coming from a space of that they're not already perfect and whole and complete as they are, so they need to be really hard on themselves in order to be worthy. And they need to like whip themselves into shape and just like beat themselves up, and like that's not the way to go. I saw a like meme, I can't remember exactly what it said, not too long ago, where she said it was like a fitness instructor, and she was saying something about how like exercise to celebrate how much you love your body, not as a punishment for what you ate. So don't exercise because you're punishing yourself because your body's not good enough already as it is. Exercise because you love that beautiful body, damn it, and you want to move it and use it to the best of its abilities, and you want to just love it, you know. And when I first started kind of trying to work out and improve my health and wellness, a lot of it was I was using a little bit more of the toxic discipline. Like, if I don't work out every day, then I'm going to not have a six-pack, and then I won't be loved, and I won't get women, and I won't like what I see in the mirror and all of that. And so I needed to be really hard on myself and force myself to like only eat certain foods and restrict myself and all these things in order, you know, to like get the results that I wanted. And that was the toxic discipline. Now I moved into divine discipline, where like I love myself so much, I'm not going to let myself slip off. I'm not going to let myself fall into those old ways, because look how beautiful I am. Look how amazing this God being is. I want to honor it and cherish it. Look at this divine, beautiful body. I want to make sure that I love it to its fullest. So I'm going to be disciplined with the things that are good for this body. Even though it might seem easier to do other things, or it might seem more pleasant to do other things, I'm going to do what this body really needs to thrive because I love it so much. It's like, I love my daughter so much, so I'm going to give her the absolute best. And a lot of times we're so much better at loving other people more than we love ourselves. But we are the longest relationship we're in, and really the only relationship we're in is relationship with self. Everyone else is just reflecting our relationship with self. And really this is all like a crazy type of hologram situation where it's just one being in different costumes, reflecting itself, experiencing itself in different forms, which is another reason to just love everyone unconditionally and not judge. That's a big part of this whole game, is learning to love every part of ourselves, even the parts that seem terrible and seem dark, and that's reflected in other humans, and when you can really learn to love Trump, love Hitler, love everything as much and equally as you love Jesus and love a cute bunny and love your puppy, and you see it all as one, and it's all you, and you love it all equally, and there's not any judgment on which part of it is good or bad or what, or sacred or not sacred. It's just all love. And there's sometimes the illusion that there's not love there, but that's, another rabbit hole for another podcast. So love yourself, take care of yourself. You are the entire universe embodied as a unique expression, and you are so much more than this body and this physical life and these thoughts and these emotions. It's all temporary, so make the most of it, have fun, enjoy it, stop taking it so seriously. We're like these semi-conscious monkeys spinning on this planet in this vast infinite space that we barely even come close to understanding, and yet we get so stressed out and so anxious, so fearful, and so worried, and even learn to love that, because the fact that we can even fear is a sign of how much we love. We love this life so much that we're scared of losing it. We love people so much we're scared of losing them. We love blessings so much we're scared of not having them and having to suffer, and if we, really, like the Buddhists believe that life is suffering. And what I believe is that life is suffering and consciousness is bliss. So human life is it's inevitable that there's going to be suffering. It's inevitable that there's going to be hardships, challenges, things that I don't want to do, and discipline can help me through that. But my true essence is just consciousness, and that's just pure bliss. So anytime I need to experience pure bliss, all I need to do is really go out in nature or meditate or do something to get beyond the ego self and into my true nature, because in the ego self there's always going to be some degree of suffering, and there can also be lots of joy and lots of awesomeness in the ego as well, but for the most part this physical life has suffering involved, and if you can accept that, then it's, rather than always trying to resist it, because most of the suffering comes from resisting what we perceive as negative rather than the perceived negative thing itself. So accepting it and then coming back to what we really are, which is consciousness, which is bliss, and permeates all of existence. Beautiful, beautiful to get on that frequency and just really just love this whole sacred mystery. And another thing, before I wrap up this episode, having to do with discipline, is that discipline is there for you when you need it. Motivation is not. Mel Robbins, who's a motivational speaker and author of the 5-Second Rule, which is an amazing book, and I like her whole philosophy. She's a cool woman. She always says that motivation is garbage because it's never there when you need it. When you're feeling motivated, awesome, it's fine and dandy. You're feeling super motivated, pumped up to work out or meditate or do something go out in nature, do something that's good for you. That's fine, but then what happens when you don't feel like it? You're just not going to do it? Discipline will show up for you because you do it whether you feel like it or not because you're disciplined. Motivation is like only there, at certain times. It's fickle. It's like emotions, all this stuff. Whereas discipline is more like a foundation that's always there for you, especially in the times when you don't want to do something. That's when the discipline kicks in and you're gonna do it even though you're not feeling it, and then you feel great and rewarded on the other side of it. Whereas like motivation, it's great when it's there, but then when it's not there, it doesn't do you any good. Versus like discipline doesn't really doesn't matter if you're motivated or not. You're gonna show up because that's who you are. It's part of your identity. So those are my thoughts on discipline, a few thoughts on freedom and self-love, which, like I said, are all inextricably connected and all part of this sacred dance. As we continue to wake the love up, as we continue to ascend into our higher chakras and to undergo transformation like a butterfly emerging from a continuous cocoon. I just want to acknowledge that you are loved, you are whole and complete exactly how you are. You are exactly where you need to be. You are always on path, even when it looks like you're not. Even when it looks like you're completely lost, that's exactly where you're supposed to be on this stage of your journey. So trust in divine timing, trust in your inner guidance, trust in the entire universe, which is conspiring to help you thrive and always leading you compassionately towards the highest good. Even if it seems painful or challenging, just know this is where you're supposed to be. Everything is happening for a reason. Everything is happening for you. It's not happening to you. It's all a blessing in disguise, here to help you grow, here to bring you home, back to the love. So let's continue waking the love up within ourselves so we can embody that and spread that out onto everyone that we love in this sacred, sacred life. And we are just going to continue to grow together, continue to get better and better. So many things are improving. It's so easy to look at the world right now and think things are collapsing or going to shit. And, things are collapsing, but that's the old toxic things which are collapsing. Old stories are collapsing, and it can seem so scary. Even, it feels scary to lose stuff because we get so attached to it, even when we know it's bad for us. People will cry and get so sad about losing a relationship, even though that relationship was super toxic, even though the person was beating them or whatever. So this is natural for some of us to have different emotions coming up through all these changes and through COVID-19 and Black Lives Matter and these just remarkable times that we're in right now. Lots of positive change is occurring for the better. It's all happening for us, and I'm very grateful to be a part of it. So I can't thank you enough for listening to this podcast, for spreading it, and for waking the love up within yourself so we can all be the change that we wish to see. I know times can feel wild and emotions are tricky, and being a human is not always as fun and easy as we like it to be because, we get caught up in programming, we get caught up in ego, we get caught up in the world. There's just always a chance for us to rise above it. There's always a chance for us to come back to love, to come back home to what we really are. And I'm just really grateful to help guide you back home in any way that I can and to be a part of this tribe because you guys guide me back home all the time. And I'm just super, super, super excited to be alive and be a human being on planet Earth right now. This is really cool. Let's just continue to do the best we can and have fun with it. Not take it too seriously. Life is but a dream. Let's row that boat merrily and enjoy it while we can because we never know how long it's going to last. So I love you so, so, so much from the center of my heart. Go create an incredible rest of your day. Make some magic this week. Have some fun this week. Share some laughter with some loved ones this week. And I will see you soon on another episode of Wake the Love Up. Peace and blessings.